Today I went to the storage shed and I pulled out this piece of plum from my Santa Rosa plum tree that got diseased and we had to take it out. So I was trying to decide what to do with this, and one of the things I found is that this tree had a huge, this piece of wood had a huge crack in it. And in order to do something with it, I had to deal with this crack. I thought it came after I sealed the ends, but if you look in here, you can see places where the latex paint seeped through, so I think the crack was here before, and I'm just trying to do something with it. So I took it to the bandsaw and cut. First of all, I cut it in half this way because this piece is too long to fit in my lathe by itself if I'm going crossways like a bowl. So I cut it in two pieces, and then I cut each one across the actual crack. And as you can tell, that crack came right in the pith, right there. But the center here is some very beautiful wood, so I thought I would make some kind of bowls with each of these. And because the crack was not dead on it, some of these are bigger than others. This one's here, that one's there. I think I can make some nice little bowls with these. I've never turned a natural edge bowl, but I think I'm going to try that on some of these. The bark is fairly tight. There's some pieces of it where it's not, and on those I'll probably have to do a little gluing to keep them straight. This piece here had branches coming out of it, so once I get this thing started to turn, that may be very, very pretty feature of this. So we'll see what happens. This piece, the bark is the loosest, so when I get to turning this piece, I'll try to save some of that bark if I can. And we'll just go after this, try to make 4 bowls out of this piece. So I bought a 3¼ inch Forstner bit to drill the holes, and I'm a little concerned about these cracks. This one's got a very big crack coming through here. There's a lot of bark on this side, so I'm going to have to CA glue this. There's a crack there too. So I have to be very careful with these. I was going to put recesses in. I'm not sure about this one. This one also has cracks in it here and here. I don't know if you can see those. This one's got a little crack, but I think this one might be okay. This one's got a little crack here and a little crack there. But I'm going to definitely putting some thin CA in these. And then after about an hour, I'll come back and put some medium CA in. And that between the two, they should handle the cracks. I've got one of the blanks up on the lathe here, and I'm set up to start working on it. This is the corner that is the, well, this is the corner that is the highest. The other one was just a little bit less, but I'm going to start on this, and I will be starting out by turning going from here, from the outside to the inside. That's backwards for whatever anybody says, except for Phil Anderson. He's the one who has been doing a lot of natural edge bowls, and I've been watching him. So he says when you're starting out a natural edge bowl, it's good to go from outside in for a little while anyway, until you get down to where you can start and come back the other way. And that's to keep the bark on. This bark is pretty solid, so we'll see how this all works out. Like I said, this is the first natural edge bowl I've done, so I'm taking Phil Anderson's word for it. So I don't know if Phil watches these things, but if he does, hi Phil. I've watched a lot of your videos, I enjoy them, so let's see how I do doing mine. Well, this crack is worrisome. I may have to take it off the lathe and put some CA in there, some sawdust as well. That should help. I'm going to do a couple of more passes and see if that smooths it out a little bit more. Then I'll worry about the glue. Yeah, it's definitely going to need some CA in these cracks, so I will take it off the lathe, put the CA on, let it dry, and come back to it. The CA glue is dried. I put some sawdust in here as well. The sawdust is not the same wood as this, since this is the first time I've turned this wood. It actually came from redwood, but I think it'll be all right. So it's back to working on this. The first thing I'm going to work on is getting back here to working on getting these corners rounded. So keep working on it and stopping every so often to make sure I'm happy with what's happening. And we go from there. Well, I've got the ends, so they're symmetrical. That's good. This end here has a lot of cracks in it, and the further I get down, the worse they're getting. So I've got to go do some more CA gluing on here, Some of these are extremely big, and I'm not too thrilled with them being that big. There's one right here that is very worrisome. So I guess I'm gonna have to glue a whole bunch of this and hope that it works. Put some more sawdust deep in there and the glue and see if that stabilizes it while I'm turning. Back from the glue, and I'm now going to, I've measured for a recess. I'm going to start making the recess for the chuck. Then after I do that, I will be starting to make the bowl, the outside of the bowl, fashion that. And everything should work out, I hope. These cracks should be stable enough to work. So. As I was making this recess, I went back and forth between using my gouges and my carbide scrapers. I figured that would be the least stressful on the wood. And now I'm using my dovetail tool to finish off the recess. Okay, that's got the recess in. It's a little deeper than a lot of them, but I want to have a little more push on this because of what we're doing, so we'll see what happens with that. And now I'm going to start rounding over the sides of the bowl, making the foot, and then work on that part. Okay, down to I think where sanding will happen. And the bark I will sand. I don't have a Sandaflex, but I have something that's like it. And I will smooth the bark down on that as much as I can get here. I'll do the rest later. This is going to be an interesting feature of the bowl. We're going to see how that works out. But everything else looks good here. These will be sanded. I'm going to start at 60 grit and go up to, I guess, about 400. I'll see what it looks like once I get to the higher grits. If it's pulling wood out of the pores, I'll stop at a lower grit. There's a little crack right in there, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything. In fact, it'll be a nice feature, I think. We'll see what that does, but so far, not a bad little bowl, at least the bottom. So I'll get the sanding going and show you a little bit of the bark sanding I'm doing. And the regular sanding, you know how to do that, so I won't be showing that. This is what I have. It's not a Sandaflex, it's kind of a brush thing. I have coarse, medium, and fine, and I will go through all three of those here on the bark. Well, it's not dead smooth, but then I wasn't trying to make it dead smooth. I kind of like having the gnarly there, and I think it'll be all right with some sanding sealer on it. Once I get it turned around, I'll know better what I'm going to do there. So now it's time to sand the base here, and I'll show you a little bit of that. You don't need to see a lot. Yeah, even on this bottom part, I'm going to have to sand it without it turning to make sure I get all the tool marks and whatnot out of it. So this is going to take a while. I'll bring you back when I've turned it around and we'll start hollowing out the bowl form. I did some experimentation on some scrap to determine what type of finish I wanted to put on this. I tried Danish oil, varnish oil, and shellac. And shellac won because it was the one that would give me the most grain pop on the sapwood. They'd all work on the heartwood, but this did the most on the sapwood. So I finished the outside of the bowl, 2 coats of sanding sealer, shellac based, and then 3 coats of shellac and rubbed it on the smooth parts and brushed it on the bark. And then I took it off the lathe after it was thoroughly cured and took off the faceplate that I had. I'm going to watch and be careful what I want to do. I'm going to start with taking down where I am at the diameter of what was the faceplate, and then nibble away a little bit more depending on how I like the way the artistry works. One thing I want to be careful with is this section. I want to keep this as much as possible because I think it's very artistically interesting. But if I dig too deep here, I'm afraid that some of these things would pop out and would not be as interesting. So this may be a very thick-walled bowl. I may go down about that far and see what it looks like, stopping frequently to see what I've got and where I'm going. I've got two cracks that I'm finding here. This one goes all the way through here, so that's worrisome. This one's coming from here over here. So I'm going to do a little bit of scraping with my carbide tools around here just for a little bit, and then I'll take it off and CA it to stabilize those cracks, especially this one. This one's very worrisome. So definitely the cracks that are worrisome. That one, this one, and it goes over here and up there, and this one is going over here. So time to CA, to stabilize. Put the glue on, and I had to do it like 3 times because it just soaked right in. These must be very deep cracks. So I'm glad I stopped and put the glue on, and back to trying to carve out a bowl out of the center section. I'm not down to the ends of my screws yet. I need to be there. This crack has widened, so I'm concerned about that. That crack has widened a bit. I think I will take it off again and do some more glue up, just to be sure. This crack is worrisome. And I think it actually goes all the way through here eventually, which would be a problem. This is not going to be a very deep bowl. But it will be as good as I can get it done. So, more glue. I picked up something odd here that I've never had before. I think it's a crack that I'm hitting edge on, and that's why it's looking the way it is. I'm going to try a little bit of carbide tool to straighten this out a little bit. If that doesn't work, I'll just work with it on sanding. I think that's going to be as good as I can get with tools. I'm going to have to work with sanding from now on. I will start with 60 grit, work on that section, and come around here, and then go through the grits 80, 100, actually 80, 120, 140 up to 600. Part of the sanding I will do by hand, and part of the sanding I will do on my power sander. I'll start this piece here on power sander and see if I can get that down a little bit more. Smooth than it is, but I think I've got it about where I want it. It's a thicker bowl than you would normally do, but I've got thick sides here, which I have to have because of the way it slopes down, but I think it's going to be a nice bowl nevertheless. So now I'm going to put 2 coats of sanding sealer on here. It's not totally smooth, but I don't want it to be totally smooth. Right here there's a ridge, but I wanted to keep that. This is that crack. So that's going to be, yeah, right there. That's going to be a character thing. So I'll put the 2 coats of sanding sealer on, followed by 2 coats of shellac. When I'm doing the shellac, I will also refresh the shellac on this point right here, where the super glue got in it, the CA got in it. So bring you back after I get it all done. Well, the first bowl is done. I rather like how it turned out. It's got beautiful grain in it. I like that feature. That's why I didn't take the bowl very deep, because I wanted to keep this feature. I didn't want to turn it away. So it's all done except for putting in my logo here in the bottom. I do that with a laser engraver, and it's a bear to set up, so I'm going to wait and till I get all 4 bowls done, and then I will put the logos in all 4 of them. But I don't have a mechanized turntable, so I'm the mechanization here. But I think it's a nice looking bowl. I think it will be fine. It's a little candy bowl or something, or maybe just a decorative bowl. Just something to help people enjoy the beauty of the wood. At the start of this project, I had 4 blanks that came from the same piece of my Santa Rosa plum tree trunk. My original plan was to turn each blank into a bowl. This video documented the turning of the first bowl. As I was turning the second blank, these large, deep cracks appeared. They were not there when I started. I can only guess there was a lot of stress stored up in the blank that was relieved in the turning process. This second blank is now only salvageable as a pen blank. I will document that turning in a future video. I feared these 2 blanks would suffer the same fate as the other one if I tried to make them into bowls. So I thought spindle turning them would be less stressful to the wood. I turned them both into candlesticks. They still developed cracks, but they were smaller and more manageable. I will also document those turnings in a future video.